Okay, hello internet. This is a brief tutorial on how to do some basic web scraping using Beautifulsoup as a library in Python. So what is web scraping? Web scraping is the process of getting information out of a web page automatically. Alright, and in order to do that, well, you need to have a web page with some information. So I've got the web page we'll be working with today, and it's called fincarraiz.com.co. Alright, and it's a web page that has the prices of houses in Bogota. Cool. So to not extend the tutorial too much, we'll be extracting two main features: the name of the house and the price of the house. So in this web page, we can see we have some data up here, the title of the web page, some prices of who knows what, the city, the department, the zone, and we're already in Bogota, so we don't need to worry about that. This is the URL, okay, and in these items, in these divs, we can find each house. Now notice a particular thing: I'm not interested in every single one of these, because there are some tabs like this one which aren't about houses. They're promotions, they're highlighted projects, right? And they have prices that range. In the instance, they're advertising Miramont Park, and it ranges from 305 million to 750 million pesos. Okay, and so I'm not really interested in these. I mean, I'm interested in these, in the ones that actually give information on a specific house. So before we do some web scraping, we need to know the structure of the HTML behind this web page. Okay, so if we click here, this is the developer console on Google Chrome, and we can simply click here and then select an item on the web page to see the corresponding HTML code. That's what I've done here for this house, and we can see right here here, let me just click on that in. Okay, here we can see that every single one of these little items is actually a UL tag in the HTML code. That simplifies our life considerably, because then we only have to select all the UL tags in the web page. Great, but there's a problem, right? I'm only interested in these type of houses, not this one, just these ones. But if we look closely at the code, we will see that the highlighted projects have a particular class name, and the class name is product code DON right here. Okay, so this tag over here is shared by all the highlighted projects, and I'll prove it to you. Right, we have one instance here, but we have another instance of such projects here, right? And if we scroll here, it's the only tag they share, right? Product code DON. So just keep that in mind for when we're scrapping a web page. Cool. So let's get down to the code itself. You have to install Beautifulsoup in order to run some code with it, and it should work by typing in pip install Beautifulsoup 4 on all major operating systems. There should be no problem, but if you do, we'll just look at the documentation of Beautifulsoup. There's a link in the description. Okay, so let's write some code. Once you have Beautifulsoup installed, then you'll need to have a basic Python script. So let's call our script scrap.py. We'll be needing requests, because we're going to need to do an HTTP request to the web page. So import requests and import Beautifulsoup. So from BS4 import Beautifulsoup. Cool. And since we are going to export the information as JSON, we'll import JSON here as well. Awesome. Now we want to have ultimately an array of the information of different houses. So let's name that array clean houses. Great. This is going to be our output. And once we have that, we want to save it. So we want to open a file. We call it data.json. And we're going to open it in writing mode as out file. And once we have that, json.dump our array out file. Great, so all we have to do is fill the clean houses array with our data from the web page, and it'll automatically create a JSON file for us with that information that can then be uploaded to a Mongo database or whatever. Nice. So let's start by actually getting the web page. That's the first thing we need to do. So what's our URL going to be? Well, for the time being, we're only going to scrap this web page. Okay, so this is going to be our URL. Nice. So we need to create a request to get the actual web page. So our page is going to be stored here, and we're going to do a request. A get request URL.content, right? This returns a request object, and in order to get the content of the web page, well, we just ask for the content. Great. So now we have the content. Beautifulsoup needs to parse it so we can access all its juicy stuff. So in order to do that, we do the following thing. We go Beautifulsoup, the web page, and the type of parsing we really want to do. We want to do HTML parsing, so HTML parser. And this is now a Beautifulsoup object that will let us find UL elements, any sort of DOM element, effectively. Now, we need to find all our UL elements. How do we do this? Well, we can do this by getting the parsed content of our web page and finding all instances of UL tags. Cool. But if you look closely, I forgot to mention that all of the UL tags listed here share a common class, and it's called advert. So to be extra sure that we're only getting the elements that we're interested in, we're going to have it select not only all UL tags, but also all UL tags that have a class advert. So how do we tell the computer to do that? Well, here we're selecting all the UL elements, and then we're going to tell it, okay, get the class, get all UL elements that also have the class name advert. Nice. Let's see what that outputs. So print houses.prettify. This will just pretty print stuff for us, not just ugly, unindented HTML. So if you run our script, hey, no attribute prettify. Oh, right, I forgot to mention, find all generates a list of things. So it's complaining because it can't prettify a list. But if we prettify an element, an instance of that list, then all of a sudden we have beautiful HTML code. That is amazing. Cool, but there's a tiny little problem. And the problem is that, as I said, we need to remove this guy, right? The highlighted project, our number one enemy. We don't want him there. So how do we tell it we don't want him there? Well, we'll create a for loop. We'll say for each house in houses, okay, if it contains product code done, which is product code done, right? We said that was the unique class identifier that was shared among all highlighted projects. If it finds that in-house class, right? House is dictionary, and if I ask for the class attribute of the dictionary, it will give me a list of all its classes. So I'm essentially asking if this string is in the class of that house, okay? And we said if it's in there, we don't want it. So if it's in there, we'll just continue the for loop, right? And if it's not, then we can go ahead and parse it. Cool. So let's do that. Now we want to find two attributes, right? The name and the price. Let's go ahead and start with the name. So for the time being, let's print the house we're at .prettyfy, right? This is going to print a single house, and then we'll break. Okay, I just want to see the content of a single house to see where the name is stored. Let's do that. Cool. Now let's look for the title. So we have the image here. We have an li with a title thingy. We have the price. I think we skipped it. Here we go. There is the title, Casa en Bosa el Anhelo, and it's an H2 element. Okay, how on earth do we extract that? Well, we can tell Beautifulsoup to find an instance of an H2 tag, right? This H2 tag happens to be the only one in the entire HTML we selected. So instead of doing a find all, we can simply tell it to find one instance. How do we tell it that? Well, we do .find. Okay, .find H2, and it'll find the H2 tag that we're interested in. Okay, let's see what that outputs. And, oh right, we can't see what it printed because we're also printing a bunch of stuff. Cool, so this is the H2 tag, but I'm only interested in the H2, in the text inside the H2 tag, not the entire H2 tag itself. So the way we can do that is by calling a method called getText. Okay, and this will just retrieve the text. GetText is not. It has no prettyfy attribute. Of course it doesn't, because it's no longer. It's just a string. It's not a Beautifulsoup object. Great. Now we have the title, but there's a problem, right? Because there's a bunch of spaces behind. We can get rid of those by doing a .strip, and it will remove all spaces and new lines. And so there's our name. There's the name of the first element. Cool, so we can store that in a variable called name. Okay, and we're done with the first attribute. Awesome. Now, how do we extract the price? Well, the price is a little bit more tricky because it's stored deep inside some weird thing. Let's see exactly where it is. So let's do the same trick as before. We'll print out the entire HTML segment, and we'll hunt down for the price. And it's right here. Awesome. In this div. Right? So the first thing I need to do is hunt down the li tag it's stored within. Okay? And that li tag is wait. So we li class, and it closes here, and it opens class li information. Oh, okay, there's a problem because I'm printing out the first element, which happens to be project information, and I don't want that, so I'm going to print this here. See if that fixes the problem. It's not the way to do things, but it's a fast way. Awesome. Here's the price, and it's the price of a normal house, not one of the highlighted projects. So in order to access this LI, I need to tell the computer get house.findAll, get me all the LI tags, and of those LI tags, I'm only interested in the one that has the price attribute. Okay, awesome. And if we do that, then we get a much more refined section of the HTML, right? Probably shouldn't have done all, just fine. Great. Now here's our price, right? We need to hunt down this little part. So there's a cool little thing in Beautifulsoup where you can actually input a function to filter out information. So in our case, the price is in here, right? It's under a meta tag that has content and item prop. There's other meta tags, so I can't just filter out by meta, right? And actually, I couldn't filter out by meta and always ask for the first meta item, right? It's consistent. The HTML is consistent throughout the web page. So if I just ask for the meta item, then it should get it. And since it's the first one, all I have to do is a find, not find all, because find returns the first element it finds that matches the query. So if I just search for meta, there we go. Here's the price. And we can use the same trick as before. Let's just get the text inside it. So get text. Awesome. There's our price. We have the same problem. There's a bunch of spaces, so I'll do a strip on it. That removes the spaces. Awesome. But I don't want the $sign or the decimal, right? Decimal places. I want the entire integer, so 475 million. Okay, so we can do a split by $sign, right? Get the part on the right, so this will get me the part that's after the $sign. Awesome. Now I'll do a strip again because I have that extra space, right? And then I want to replace all the decimal points by a blank string, and that will just give us our number. Strip is not defined, right? I forgot this is a dot, not a comma. Awesome. There is our number, right? These number change because each time I query the URL, well, it gives me a slightly different list. That's not a problem. Awesome. So this is going to be our price. Get rid of these. Awesome. Now that we have the price, we can iterate through the entire house, through all the houses. Okay, we don't need this print anymore. And now we have to create our JSON object. So I'm going to say my house is going to be a dictionary that is going to have two fields: the name, it's going to have value of whatever I found, and a price that is going to be the price that I just got. Cool. And I am going to append this dictionary to my list of clean houses. So clean houses.append my house, and this should now have, so my clean houses should have information on all the houses of that particular web page. Okay, let's see if that works. So I'll run the script, and that has generated the data.json. And if you can see right here, we have an array that contains all of the houses. So casa en zona noroccidente, price that much, casa en Gilmar, price that much, etc., etc., etc. Now, although this may seem like a lot of houses, there are actually not that many. Let's actually see how many we have. Let's say print the number of houses scrapped, double P, single P, I don't really know. Number of houses scrapped. And we'll just get the length of our array. This should give us how many houses we scrapped. We scrapped 36, right? So, okay, we didn't really do that great. There's a little trick we can use, particular to this web page. So, underneath here, you can follow the link to get more houses. And if you're clever, you can spot a little detail. Look at this number right here. Okay, the number after the 30. If I click on the third one, only that number changes to 3. The rest of the URL stays the same. If I click on 4, only that part changes. So I can actually copy this URL. Okay. And iterate through all of the numbers available. So 1 through 9 are available. So I'm going to iterate for I in range 1 through 10, right? This stops 1 before, this range is not inclusive on the part on the right, so it'll actually iterate through the numbers 1 through 9. And I can now redeclare my URL and have the number right after the 30 be my iteration. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to change, it's going to iterate through each URL. We have to indent this code for this to work, right? And once it'll get the URL, make a request to the page, parse the page, get the houses, right? And then for each house, get the name and the price, and append all of that to clean houses, right? Let's see how many houses we got by doing this. Alright, it's going to take a little bit more since it's actually querying different pages, but amazing, right? Now we have 324 houses that we can extract data from, and it's right there, right? I can scroll down and there's 324 houses with their name and their price. And I could probably get more information, right? I only got the price and the name, but I could get the area, probably plot, for example, the area versus the price, see if there's a relationship there, or then maybe the number of rooms, or maybe the zone, right? Zona Occidente, Zona Sur, Zona Norte Occidente. Maybe that would be interesting, right? So if you need data to make a visualization or for a machine learning algorithm and you want data that's available at a website, then this method it could suit your needs pretty well. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. There's a link to a Medium article that this tutorial is based on. I'll copy it in the description below. Check it out. It's an amazing article. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.